Lock myself in my room to listen to voices recorded. Don't walk outside to avoid being avoided. This feeling that comes with not having a purpose. If I find something soon, maybe I won't feel so worthless. I've always felt this rhythm, but I thought it'd be pointless. Playing music that's for rich folks, not a prophet of poignance. But pointless is a feeling that comes over me often. Though I keep going for a fear of not affording my own coffin. I know I sound sad, but I've got to be honest. It's soothing to me and it helps with my progress. If writing these songs helps me change, then I have to. Not even for me, but everyone that I matter to. I've got this feeling life won't always be like this. My dad said to me, it's your calling, your purpose. Walking through this life like a man with no shadow. Always by myself, just trying to find my way. I've got no idea of how to get this thing started. Looking for a way out never got me by. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth. How could you be happy if you've got nothing to prove? So get up and get out there, son, what you got to lose. Walking through this life, forgetting strife in the rear view. Don't prolong the pain, I owe myself more than that. If I learned my lesson, could I go back to high school? Tell myself to have some fun, don't be so pent up. I'm so scared and I don't know what to do. All this medicine does is hide the truth. How could you be happy if you've got nothing to prove? So get up and get out there, son, what you got to lose. Lock the door and run hot water. My sights are skewed, forgive me, Father. Send you a text over dramatic.
Welcome, everybody. This is the SchuBros. We are live on a Thursday night. It is the 30th of July, meaning, we will be hitting August in 2 days. Kyle, August, man, it's going to get hot.
Oh, good Lord, God in heaven. Will it ever? It's Texas in the summer. If we're under 100 degrees, it must rain that day. And that doesn't even mean that it actually got below 100 and stayed there. it can still be above 100 after a rain here in Texas. It's whew. And then when the
Unfortunately, the
humidity,
only thing rain does is increase the humidity. It doesn't decrease the
I was gonna
temperature.
say, and then all that does is just make it swampy because now you got all the humidity and it'd be 100% humidity for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
and you're just drenching sweat. The second you walk outside, whether you're in, you know, peak performance fitness or fat like me and you. So it doesn't matter here in Texas. If you're outside in August, be ready to sweat and drink a lot of water to rehydrate.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those things where, no matter how much you want to be as nice as you want to be, it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be sucky. That is just Texas for you in a nutshell. Well, guys, we are very lucky tonight to be joined by an exceptional guest, a man who is out there winning the hearts and minds, winning those battles for every conservative across the board. You guys, we can't say thank you enough for him to come on with us tonight and for him to be with us and give us a little bit of time. We know he is very busy. Guys, excuse the video. I am working on it, but we will get it right. Here we go. Mr. Scott Presler, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, my computer always screws up a video as soon as somebody like you, so prestigious as you, joins, but your message will still come across loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm ready.
Okay. So, for anybody who doesn't know who Scott Presler is or what Scott Presler does, you are out there doing the great work, doing what conservatives should be doing, and showing the rest of the nation what true conservatism is about. It is about helping your fellow man, about being a part of the community, about caring more about others than yourself. We can be individuals, we can have individual liberty, but that doesn't mean that we tell our neighbors that they don't matter and that they don't exist. And you have done such a great job in such a short amount of time of advocating that message on behalf of conservatives. Thank you so much for that, sir. And what got you started?
It was President Obama who inspired me to become a community organizer. And people always kind of scratch their heads for a second. They go, wait a second, it was Obama? Yeah, it was. It was in the 2012 re-election. The night that he was reelected, I created my Twitter account that night. And I told myself, Scott, you can sit at home and you can whine and you can complain and you can cry, or you can do something about it. So I told myself, you're going to volunteer. Started volunteering for the Republican Party of Virginia in 2013, fell in love with it because I felt like I was making a difference in my community. I felt like I was actually doing something. 2014, I moved to Texas to help elect Governor Greg Abbott, and that was my first ever political job ever. To spend 2 years of my life working to defeat Hillary Clinton, and now I'm traveling the country picking up trash, registering voters, and making sure that Donald Trump is reelected in 2020.
Perfect.
That's great news for us, man, because for us, like Ross ran for Congress out there in West Texas, where President Trump actually was yesterday, out there in Midland, Odessa, and then I'm over here in Bryan College Station, where home of Texas A&M. And recently we got the news that our vaccine center that was built a couple years back is finally going to get put to use, and it's going to be helping produce all these COVID vaccines that'll hopefully be able to, make the market and get us over this scare and allow us to go back to real life. But that doesn't do nearly as much as what you're doing by going into the city of Baltimore and actually cleaning the town up and showing people that, as a Republican, you care about these inner city people and that you're actually reaching out to them, which is one of the things that we hear all the time, is that the Republican Party doesn't pander or reach out to the black community. And that's something that you're flying in the face of directly. You are actually going and doing that. And when you do these cleanups, are you met with any kind of hardship, or is it usually, are you pretty well welcomed?
Usually I'm welcomed. I mean, the city of Baltimore denied us permits for dumpsters, denied us permits for picking up trash for free, by the way. And then the Baltimore Sun wrote a scathing editorial questioning my motives for coming to the city of Baltimore. So Yeah, there was some backlash, but not from the people. From the people, they were thankful that we were there, and they were thankful for President Trump bringing attention to the problem. Because, I mean, look, what has gotten you from voting Democrat for the last 50 years? Why is Baltimore the state that it's in, and why are people accepting the state that Baltimore is in? And more importantly, if you're unhappy with what's happening with your local government, why are you continuing to elect the same people over and over? I just don't understand it. But no, the people are very thankful whenever I go to a city. I've only been protested for one trash cleanup, and that was in San Francisco in Nancy Pelosi's backyard. So I wear that as a badge of honor.
And you absolutely should, sir. I mean, again, we've heard from the left so often that the right is about all of these things, but what we're not about is actually helping out these individual communities and going in and actually performing services for them. And you are flying in the face of that logic. You are sticking that logic back into them and saying, you know what, conservatives can be about the communities, and we can choose to be charitable. We can choose to do these great things for these communities and help them and show them that there is a path, a different path. And your story, I mean, the MAGA hippie, you know, so much things about you that is, you're not your typical Republican. You know, and Kyle and I like to say we're not typical Republicans. We're conservatives. And what brought you to being a conservative, a Republican, whatever you want to call it? What was the history behind that? How did you come to being a Republican?
I mean, I've always been conservative leaning. You know, I voted for John McCain. I voted for Mitt Romney, but I am keenly aware that what it means to be a Republican doesn't mean that you're necessarily an America First Republican or an anti-globalist Republican or an anti Americans should come first Republican. I mean, it's been such an awakening for me, you know, seeing all these Republicans out there in name only, you know, like Kasich, the Jeff Flakes of the world, with all due respect, and Lisa Murkowski. I mean, look, the worst Republican is better than the best Democrat at the end of the day, and I'm always going to vote R. However, in primaries, I'm going to make sure from now on that we are electing candidates that are going to support President Trump and support an America First agenda. The biggest reason why I'm a Republican is because of immigration. I think it's wrong that we don't take care of our homeless. I think it's wrong we don't take care of our veterans. I think it's wrong that we don't even have AC for our schools in Baltimore. I think it's wrong that schools had to close down and our children weren't receiving an education because of said AC problem. Yet we're spending billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. And that to me is the biggest reason why I'm a Republican, because I believe in putting the American people first, no matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow, green, or purple. We come first, period.
And with that said, you have done something that a lot of people kind of forget about, and that is go after voter registration. Like you even got a friend of the show, Olivia Rondell, registered to vote there in the Maryland area. And now she's out in Missouri, I believe, going door to door doing the same thing. Not necessarily think she's doing it as a Republican, but still getting people out there to vote. What is it about registering to vote that has inspired you so much and gets you so fired up to do something of that nature? I know that's kind of the forgotten chore of our democracy or our republic.
Voter registration is how you win. If you want to win an election, you need to register to vote at your current address. You need to know where your polling location is, and ultimately you need to show up on election day, period. There's nothing sexy about voter registration, except for the fact that it's how we win elections and how President Obama won in 2008 and 2012, and how the Democrats forever shaped Colorado and how the Democrats forever shaped Virginia through the art of voter registration. So if Republicans ever want to be competitive, and if Republicans ever want to win elections and flip states from blue to red, then very humbly, they would be wise to take the model that I've created of how to register voters across the country and using social media as a tool in order to do that. I mean, every single day, I know that I always post a picture of me when I register someone in person, but I probably register an average of 15 to 20 people every single day, from people sliding into my DMs saying, Scott, I'm in Colorado. I've never voted. What do I do? I'm in Iowa. What do I do? I'm in California. What do I do? And I take my time to message them personally the Secretary of State website for every single state so they can get registered to vote.
You know, and that's what you're doing. Again, as Kyle said, that is terrific, because that is, as you mentioned, the path to winning, the path to building that voter coalition. But in all these states you're going to, we're currently seeing these riots. I heard you were out in Sacramento, in California. You were in Florida today, correct? I mean, God, every time I look at your Twitter, it's just a different state, a different day. You travel more than anybody, but have you seen a lot going on with these protests, or have you been involved in it? How's that affected you?
Let me put it this way. I've faced worse monsters for years, and nothing is going to stop Scott Presler, and nothing is going to fatigue my body. I don't care if it's COVID or Ebola. I'm not going anywhere. That's number one. Now, number two, these protests haven't done anything to inhibit or prohibit my work. And look at even COVID. I didn't stop. I was in Atlanta, Georgia doing a cleanup. I was in Denver, Colorado. I was in Columbus, Ohio. I was in Beaufort, South Carolina. I was in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've been from city to city, from state to state, registering voters, because this is my passion and this is how we win. And the only protest that I saw was during the Black Lives Matter height in Denver, Colorado, but things have died down. There aren't any protests anymore. And actually, I'm very thankful for that, because many of the protests were violent, and they had to it was because of them that I had to come in town and scrub graffiti off the Capitol building in Denver, Colorado. So wonderful job.
Yeah, that's a little bit insane. With that said, what would be your advice to someone who's, wanting to kind of take over some of your mantle, and they want to start doing what you're doing and going out there and registering people to vote? What would be your number one piece of advice, and then what would be a good tidbit that you found as motivation?
Well, I created a guide. Guys, I've done the homework for all 50 states. I'll edit that for a second and say 49, because North Dakota does not have voter registration. But for all intents and purposes, I've done my homework, and I've created a guide which tells you who, what, when, where, and why, how to register voters, what you need, what are the rules, what are the guidelines, when the forms are due. I mean, literally, I couldn't have made this on a better gold platter for people. So if you want the voter registration guide, slide into my DMs. I will literally send it to you. I'm up until 2 a.m. sleeping on my pillow, literally messaging you guys the guide every single day. So I'm happy to continue doing that. And the most important thing that I have to say to anyone that wants to get started is just be confident. Look, confidence is a seller. I don't care if you're selling a car or selling a politician. You have to believe in what you're selling. And I think the reason why I'm so good at selling conservatism and the Republican Party and President Trump is because my heart is in it. I believe it. I believe it full body, heart, and soul. And you also have to have some facts in order to back it up. So if somebody said, Scott, why are you supporting President Trump? I'd say, well, he's the only president. Bush, Obama, Clinton, Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. It took 4 presidents to keep a promise. Only president to actually start building a wall and secure the border. Only president to cut the corporate tax. Only president to bring back manufacturing jobs from China and other countries. Only president to sign legislation to actually give health care to our veterans and reform the VA and make sure that we can fire people who are not doing their job correctly. So you have to have this all at the drop of a hat, at your fingertips with confidence, and you will be able to sell anyone and bring them over to our side. Well, almost anyone. I'm not saying you can get Antifa, but maybe.
Yeah, Alyssa Milano is probably a lost hope at this point. Although I would say you have, I will give you the credit that you have better hair than she has. So.
Oh well, don't tell her that, because I still want to act with love, but she's a very pretty woman.
Okay.
I'll say that.
So And Scott, I want to preface you with this now. I know you have a busy night, so you just tell us when we need to stop because Kyle and I will go forever. We talk a lot, so please do tell us when we need to stop. Other than that, Scott, you've done such great work, but one of the things that, I was listening to you name all those things off. One of the things President Trump has done, one of the things we've heard bad about him is that he's against the LGBTQ community. But yet he's the first president to come out and press Middle Eastern countries, other countries to get rid of the criminalization of homosexuality. How has that relayed in that community? Has that been a positive message? Has that been something that you've been able to get with the people in that community about?
The LGBTQ community, by and large, unfortunately doesn't seem to give a rat's behind about the decriminalization of homosexuality across the world, which honestly they should, because that is an existential threat to our existence, right? If Iraq or another country, if a homosexual were to proclaim themselves publicly, the punishment could be being thrown off of a building or being publicly executed. And I think any person, whether you're Republican or Democrat, should be lauding President Trump and thanking him and former ambassador to Germany, Richard Grenell, and former DNI director for also helping to decriminalize homosexuality across the world. I mean, if this were President Obama or President Clinton or a Democrat, it would be front page news. It would be in the headlines. I mean, look at me. Gosh, if I were a Democrat, I would already have a hair care commercial and I would be on the cover of Times Magazine next to Greta. I mean, come on.
You're not lying about that. It's amazing how this current media spins things in the favor of Democrats and away from Republicans with any and every chance they get. It's disheartening almost, because if you turn on the internet, you turn on the TV, you're being lambasted with how bad Trump is, but you never see any of the positive things he's doing unless you go to like very specific websites that aren't left leaning. And it's harder and harder nowadays to find media sources that are truly middle or even to the right. I mean, they exist, don't get me wrong, but they're seemingly getting smaller and smaller by the day. And like we saw yesterday in the Congress, Breitbart's media share went down 99% in the last 2 years. And I'm not saying Breitbart is infallible, but they're at least a decent news source. And they're just being censored off the internet almost at this point. And it's hard to find them on Twitter even. So, but you did hit on Black Lives Matter earlier, and I know that was something that you wanted to talk about coming into this interview. What is it that you're seeing about Black Lives Matter that made you want to talk about it today?
Well, I wanted to clear a couple things up. I am a Republican who does believe that Black lives do matter. And it's important as Republicans and conservatives that we say that. It is important that we verbalize that. Because although that I believe actions do speak louder than words, we have to also voice how we feel. And I want to make this very clear, and I hope some leftists are listening because I really want them to understand what I'm trying to say. I agree with you. I agree that we should say Black Lives Matter, and that if somebody says all lives matter to you when you say Black Lives Matter, you've just caused a confrontation. You have just caused yourself slamming a door in your own face, and you will never, ever win that person's vote. You will never, ever persuade them over to your side due to your own ignorance of saying all lives matter in response, when we as Republicans should be more compassionate and I believe empathetic. And even if you don't support the Marxist organization Black Lives Matter as an org, well, that doesn't mean that you can't say Black lives do matter. And you don't even have to say Black Lives Matter. Say Black lives do matter. And that can be your own way of showing that you don't support the organization, but you support the Black community, the brown community, the white community, the veteran community, whatever. But people need to understand, when I say that, Black Lives Matter, I'm saying I see you, I value you, I acknowledge you, I give you humanity, I give you dignity, I empathize with you, I show compassion for you. It is so important that Republicans understand, because while Republicans tend to think with our heads, and that's not a dig, I believe that Democrats tend to think with their hearts. They're very feeling, they're very with emotion, right? They think with their hearts, and that's not a dig as well. And so therefore, if I'm trying to win over a Democrat's vote, if I'm trying to win them over, am I going to use more feeling terms? Am I going to use more emotion terms? Am I going to use more compassion terms? Absolutely. And I believe when the Republican Party finally embraces those ideals and embraces that articulation, gosh, we will never lose another election again once we've successfully done that.
Well, that speaks to something, you know, I think I learned as a kid, that one of the easiest ways to diffuse a fight is to look at somebody and say, I love you. Is to look them in the face and say, I love you. You know, we have differences. We have logical fallacies that don't exist with each other. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can love you as a person. I can treat you as an individual. That's something Kyle and I have preached on this show, is that it's individual liberty, you know, the right, I'm not the person who came up with this, the right to stupidity. That I have the right to do things that other people are going to find stupid, but I also have to give them the right to do things that I'm going to find stupid. It's irregardless of whether I think it's stupid or you think it's stupid. I get to do what I want to do, as so long as I'm not affecting your life, and you get to do what you want to do, whether we agree with it or not. And I think the message that you're sharing, I love the message you share. That's why I reached out to you. And for all the people who say, oh, you know what, he's got 700,000 Twitter followers, he's not going to message me back on DM, he's not going to send me a message. That's how you're on this show. I don't know why you messaged me back, but you did, and thank you so much.
And not me.
And not Kyle.
I told you, people slide into my DMs every day. I message people back. I can't message back all 700,000 people, but I really try my hardest. I've even given out my cell phone number. Like, people don't understand. I'm so accessible, and I do this for free. I haven't ever asked for a dime, ever. And I'm very proud of that. So people need to understand, I mean this very humbly and respectfully, I'm working my behind off for one reason and one reason alone. I love my country, and I'm not going to sit back and watch it fail, because I believe that silence is compliance, and I believe if you are not a part of the solution, that you are part of the problem. That's why I'm doing what
Exactly.
I'm doing.
And again, for anybody who doesn't think, he messaged me back. I had 600 Twitter followers. I'm somehow magically Twitter verified. I don't know how. It happened at 28 followers because I ran for Congress, Kyle likes to say, most likely. But so much other of what you're doing. I mean, the cleanups, the voter registration. Do you sleep? Do you physically sleep? Because I'm starting to wonder if you're an animatron that just, you know, looks good, has the long hair, and spews a good message. Because, man, you're so positive. You're always so upbeat. You're always spreading a good message. I've never seen you get upset on Twitter. I've never seen you respond to the trolls on Twitter, because they come after you hard. I go after them on your behalf, not, you know, truthfully, but I like to Twitter troll, so I'll go after them. But you're always so positive, so upbeat, so enlightened, so, you know, good-hearted. How do you maintain, in today's political atmosphere, how do you maintain that mentality?
Well, I want people to understand, and I mean this with all due respect, you have no power over me. I am a person of value, and I am a person of agency, and I own it. So whenever trolls come after me, it doesn't affect me, because I know they don't own me and they have no power. The only person that has power is me, over what I think, my actions, my words, how I live my life. And once you realize that, and once you're cognizant that you're the only person that has power over anything that you do, it's honestly very awakening. You know, I guess I'm what you would say, quote unquote, woke. But I love, especially when trolls from the UK message me. It's my favorite in the whole world. I love when the United Kingdom people message me and they hate me, because I respond to them, hello, I see that you're in the United Kingdom. I wanted to wish you a happy Brexit, and congratulate you on the landslide victory for conservatives. Have a good day. And that's and that's exactly how I respond to every single one of them, because I want them to know their goal is to distract me, to derail me, to stop me. And again, if it's COVID or Ebola, nothing is going to stop me. I'm here to stay, and I am indefatigable.
That's great news, man. So, Ross, I got a quick counter to your earlier argument about a good way to stop a fight. The other great way that I've found, and I haven't personally done it, but I've watched it happen, get naked. Get naked. I have never seen someone want to fight the naked guy. Never once have I seen someone go, you know what, let's go.
Okay, so
or just act really crazy and just, start screaming and, make some weird bird noises or something. Then they're going to think that, you're incapacitated and may not want to mess with you. But I do have 3 minutes for you. So if you have anybody that is writing in that has any burning questions, I do accept questions, qualms, and concerns.
So as of right now, we don't. But I do want to, since you have 3 minutes, my next question was going to be, the cleanups are so important. When are the next ones, so that anybody who is in those areas, if they want to join you, how do they find out how to join you? How do they find out when you're going to be doing them? And how do they start their own version of that?
Sure. Miami, September 12th. Orange County, I believe, September 5th. Oh, well, that may be a voter registration training. Los Angeles, September 6th. That's going to be huge. Big. September 6th, Los Angeles. September 24th, I'm going back to Baltimore. I'm returning. And anyone can message me on Twitter. I'm going to post more details as we get closer. I keep everything very close to the brim of my hat until the last minute for obvious reasons. Yes. And guys, it's not hard. Gosh, go out to your neighborhood and pick up trash. You already have masks. Get gloves. Get a bag, go pick up trash, take a picture, post it on social media. It's not about bragging. You're not bragging about the work that you're doing. You're leading by example. You're showing other people that instead of sitting at home and watching TV or going out and protesting by putting graffiti on the Denver Capitol, you're actually doing a positive, beautifying experience to make your